I brought the tube back to the fire he said was dark. The alert blinked on our shared calendar at 9:03 a.m. Neon night 6:00:10:30 ribbon burner plus bends plus bombarder. I looked at it long enough to feel the phantom pull of a blow hose against my cheek. Then the event vanished as if the day had coughed and pretended it never promised anything. 2 minutes later, a text from Noah. Shop's dark. Vacuum manifold is sulking. I'll be home early, pad thai. Read, I thumbed, yes. Set the phone face down on the museum lighting plan I kept threatening to finish, and tried not to rehearse the phrase heat the glass, not your ego inside my mouth. We've been together 7 years. Noah rotates through careful trades the way other people rotate playlists. A winter of bicycle wheels, a spring of dovetails, a summer learning to convince violins of better behavior, and since August, neon at a shop that lives behind a pawn store and a taco truck. He comes home smelling faintly of burned dust and cotton gloves, with a forehead that has learned to sweat at the right time, and a patience I borrow and break. He says sentences I tuck in my pocket because they seem bigger than glass. Don't chase the glow, the tube wants air. Vacuum is a kind of trust. We had a plan we didn't have to deserve. Pad Thai, the dumb travel show we pretend we're not invested in bed. At 4:56 p.m., though, the shop posted a story, the manifold's gauge blinking a polite green, the ribbon burner making its long, even flame, the crossfires jets like small interjections, and a person I recognized by shoulders and salt and pepper even in silhouette, Raphael, balancing a cane of glass against the rollers as if it were a sentence he was not about to over-explain. Overlay text, manifold happy, we're on, patient heat only. If they're open, we could swing by to say hi, I said, practicing the voice that promises not to turn into a request. For me it's off, Noah said, not unkind, cutting scallions with the particular focus he uses when he's choosing not to argue with himself. I'm out of good heat. Which might have been about bending glass or about whatever I was going to make of this. Got it, I told the cutting board. The part of me that calls itself prudence tied its boots badly on purpose. At 6:07 I was in the shop's lot writing the kind of administrative lie that only comforts the sender. Freight landed early. Running to sign at the museum, I typed. He sent a thumbs up. Reasonable emoji deserve better men. Inside, the air had that warm metal breath peculiar to rooms where things are invited to become light. The ribbon burner was a long vowel. The crossfires were exclamation points pretending to be hardware. The bench wore its tile like a reminder that heat has a history. Racks of clear and colored glass leaned against the wall like quiet families. 2 signs taped above the sink said don't punish glass for telling the truth, and smoke is for communicatng with bugs, not tubes. Noah arrived at 6:23 with his tote. The one silk screened the line WANTS air, and he wasn't alone. He walked with Raphael in that way people walk with someone who knows where the step is, the practiced half-body of space that isn't flirting until it matters whether it is. He saw me and did the 2 heartbeat step back, his sabirolo of hesitation, then set a smile between us like a coaster. Tonight is ordinary, said Lena, the coordinator, clapping once. Simple bends for practice, then we'll bombard her a demo tube and put it on the aging rack to make sure nobody angered physics. Rules, heat the glass, not your ego, don't chase the glow. Vacuum is a kind of trust, and if you need to gossip, not near the mercury. If you need to sneeze, not near the phosphor. The room's laugh, if a shop counts as a room, sounded like relief that somebody else had reintroduced gravity. I followed Noah with my eyes. He rolled a length of 12 clear across the ribbon burner, turning with both hands, blow hose at the ready, exhaling like the kind of person whose lungs had chosen diplomacy. When the glass drooped just enough, He lifted and bent around a paper pattern without making the pattern a god. Raphael passed him a cork and the little diamond file that behaves like punctuation, then did nothing, because sometimes the best help is leaving a gesture alone. Jealousy rose like a badly trained dog I keep meaning to adopt out. I gave it a job. I wiped the bench with a rag that had been many things. I sorted a handful of electrodes by cap color as if that mattered to anyone but me. I watched a teenager learn how not to announce her fear to a crossfire. "Bombarder in 20, Lena called, and the room shifted into a more serious calm. On the manifold board, the vacuum gauge made small, polite promises. The electrodes snapped onto the ends of a practice unit like hats that had been told how to behave. Noah laid the tube on the cradle with the weird reverence that isn't about holiness, just warranty. Raphael linked the hose, set the secondary, checked the cutoffs, and, without dramatizing any of it, gave the nod. At the break, paper cups of coffee that wanted to be better, a tub of pretzels that tasted exactly like continuing. Noah drifted toward me. "You're here," he said, a sentence that did not carry a blade. "I heard observation is already half alignment," I said, stealing from a different sky. "Also, you lied. Your hands look fine." "Manifold's back," he said. His mouth tried and failed to be casual. "And I wanted to be the version of me that learns without writing you a report. Also," he looked at Raphael, then at the burner, "sometimes it's not the worst thing to let someone else correct my heat. He has certain hands." It's always the smallest phrases that live forever. I opened the passport truth I had brought for this exact border. I was afraid you'd get used to a good job that wasn't mine. Noah set his palm on the bench the way he sometimes sets it on our table when he wants to quiet more than furniture. "Stay," he said, "no theater, some mercy. But be a student. If Lena asks what the pump does, don't say sucks it out. Say makes the path available. Can you do that?" "I can try," I said, which is my yes with rails. The second half began the way second halves should. Somebody handed me a tool I hadn't earned. "Want the blow hose?" Lena asked, crooking a finger. "We just need ordinary breathing." She set a short scrap of glass over the crossfire, showed me how to keep the hose in the corner of my mouth like a sentence I wasn't sure I should say, and stepped back like a lifeguard who enjoys her job. "Heat, rotate, count to gravity. Blow only to hold the shape, not to brag." I did not explode the bench. The first try kinked like a thought I had rushed. "Don't chase it," Lena said, her voice built for field trips and fires. "Let the bend choose where to live." The second try curved and admitted it. I scratched a witness mark where I meant to remember how decency feels. "Want to bombarder the demo?" Raphael asked later. He slipped the electrodes onto a unit he'd bent, clipped the leads like he was not performing for anyone's camera, and stood at the manifold with the kind of patience that could double as home improvement. "We pull," he said. "We heat. We let it talk." We pulled. The pump growled its agreeable yes. The pressure went down like a decision. Noah held the tube with one gloved hand and a trust I envied. Raphael touched the secondary to wake the gases that weren't there yet. Then the glass blushed from the heat at the electrodes. The mercury drop did its small blue mercy, becoming a silver line I was willing to believe in. On the aging rack the tube glowed as if modesty might be a form of brightness. Nobody cheered. We all behaved like we had known it would work, even if none of us had known this. "Quick exercise," Lena called when the tube had been humming long enough to make my body think it had remembered how to be electrical. She used the tone of a person who has taught toddlers and union members and respects both. "On painter's tape or your phone, write one sentence for tomorrow. Not about glass, about you. It has to describe you without nomming you." She didn't collect them. We have been alive long enough to figure out our own homework. Noah wrote in small neat caps, Don't tighten me so much. I open by myself. Raphael wrote, I prepare the air. I wrote, I am learning to make the path available without proving I know the way. A woman who had kept over-rotating her bends wrote, I can count to gravity before I decide. The teenager wrote, I don't have to chase the glow. Lena tapped each strip of tape with her fingernail like a small bell. We brought the demo tube down and laid it on the bench. It stopped humming the way people stop humming when they remember Rent. Label and wrap, Lena said. Light likes to be asked twice. Noah put a piece of blue tape on the leg. Hello. Raphael added another next to it. Try again tomorrow. The room exhaled in a dialect that has nothing to do with lungs. Outside, the alley had the kind of quiet that isn't a verdict. You lied, Noah said, without sharpening the word. Poorly, I said. I could have said I was scared, that your night might have a life that doesn't need me. Tell me about Raphael without poetry. He proposes and then steps out, Noah said. He doesn't collect debts. Stepping out, I repeated, and the phrase tasted like cinnamon. Noah took my hand in his jacket pocket, which is how he keeps me warm when I'm pretending I'm fine. At home, we put 3 things on the table, our taped sentences and a paper triangle where Lena had scrawled vacuum is a kind of trust in a hand I wanted to tease later. Let's write a house card, I said. 5 lines, a staff. We don't have to sing in tune. Noah found a pen the dog hadn't chewed yet. We wrote. If the calendar blinks, we talk. We don't let the neon shop decide our honesty. If a place outside makes us more alive, we show the other the door and say where the tea is and where the mercury is not. Jealous means look closer, not hunt a fault. If one of us climbs onto his mezzanine, the other puts a tool in his hand, a cork, a phrase, a file, and a time to breathe. Once a week we hang something that breathes, image, label, sentence, without explaining it until we read it out loud together. In the weeks after, I learned the difference between heat that proposes and heat that brags. I learned that chasing the glow is a losing religion. I learned to blow enough to keep the shape, and not so much I needed forgiveness. Raphael showed me how to watch the glass remember its straightness after a bend without taking it personally. Lena taught me to back the torch out before I made a puddle I would have to explain. Noah lent me his useful silence, the kind that keeps my hands from apologizing when what they need to do is adjust. I don't pretend neon can fix what sentences break. We weren't broken, just poorly tempered. Edges too sharp, proofs too long, compassion aimed at the wrong thing. The ribbon burner taught me to wait. The vacuum taught me to leave the room and trust the door. The humming taught me that sometimes light is a byproduct of consent. Justify, a word from the museum, went back to being page direction. Give the line room so it holds. Last night Noah slid our tape under the magnet strip above the sink. Across from them I taped a photo Raphael had taken of the demo tube on the aging rack, the glow soft as if the color had learned to breathe. The dog, the hyphen between us, walked through the kitchen like a professional separator of lines. We left the window open. April leaned in with a yes. Silence while the pump thinks, Noah said, borrowing from Lena. Standing by, I answered. Summary minus the sermon. Don't confuse heat with proof. Air is already help. Jealousy behaves when you give it a job. Stepping out isn't abandonment. Making the path available isn't domination. And the same tube, offered by different hands, doesn't tell one story but stories that hold each other up. Tonight the calendar's box is actually white. That means pad thai, nothing compulsory, try again tomorrow. Noah rinses the corks. I fold the towel. The dog checks the table legs like a repair person who knows when things are fine. Between the paper triangle and the photo I stick a small label. Here we make the path available without proving it. Noah adds another. Here we say thank you. The kitchen breathes like a small neon shop practicing being home. I don't clamp the ending. I let it cool, then hold. That's enough.